Well, hello first. My name is Brendan Nugent. I'm an author, albeit a part-time author, and a full-time care assistant at a residential home looking after children with learning disabilities and challenging behaviours. Now, obviously, I class myself as a working class writer for obvious reasons. Well, it's called The Sentient Ones. It's a sci-fi dystopian novel. It was actually started with a conversation with the National Trust guide at Speak Hall in Liverpool. And she told me about the history of the house at Speak Hall, the hall, and how the people there, the family, made their money. Well, apparently they made it largely through the slave trade. Now, she told me this after I looked at a wood carving above the fireplace, and she said, oh, that depicts the slave trade, the slave ships going off to America and to the Caribbean. Now, then, just following this, we talked about modern technology, and then we went and talked about artificial intelligence. Now, she then said, pointing to the wooden carving, I can imagine that might be humanity in a few years' time if artificial intelligence goes rogue, particularly if there's robots involved and AGI ones at that, artificial general intelligence robots. And she said, well, that sounds like a good story. And I said, you know what? I could write that. I'll write a story about it, a novel. Well, this is an interesting one, particularly one part. But first, John Bush, the main protagonist, I actually based him loosely on the unnamed narrator in War of the Worlds by H.G. Wells. It's a novel that I read when I was a teenager, and it really impressed me. It made an impression on me, and that's why I thought, and that's why as well I wrote my story from a first-person perspective too. Now, Isaac, that's John's son in my story, is actually based on my own son. Now, this is the more interesting bit, I think. Now, 14 of 100, or Romeo in the story, he later becomes known as Romeo, is one of the Sentient One robots. He's the main antagonist, and he's based on a former friend. And it's reflected in how Romeo at first is loyal and charming, and then turns disloyal, bitter, and cynical. But of course, I'm not telling you the name of the friend. I love the process of creating my own little world, which I can control. I can control the characters, etc., and what happens to them. I'm not a megalomaniac, obviously, but it's just that creation process which is very good. In fact, I've even become upset about killing off some of the characters, like the ones that I really got to like. And then the actual process of writing, I think, is the nearest to dreaming whilst we're awake. A bit like a daydream, but in my mind's eye, I can see the world. I can see everything that my characters are doing, and that's how the creation process happens. And sometimes I, in fact, think that the novel writes itself, as I think in my mind's eye what is going to happen. Believe in yourself. That's the main thing, because that's what I had to do, and still doing. It's in Amazon's store. So I hope if you do read it, then I hope you enjoyed it. because I enjoyed writing it. Okay, thank you very much, and goodbye for now.